What's happening? What's the deal? How you doing? How's life? So look, back again for another video. You know how we do. We still telling this story, okay? I'm trying to get this story out the fucking way. I think once I'm done telling this story, I'm gonna be done with YouTube. This shit is stressful. Trying to like recall all your past emotions and memories and shit. Fuck all that. I spent so much time and effort trying to forget all this shit, you know what I mean? I've done a lot of drugs to try to forget all this shit. And now I'm forcing myself to remember and talk about this shit. Alright, so anyway, last video was about how I met your mother, right? But before I bring it back to the future, I gotta talk about writing and my journal because it's gonna be very important later on, okay? So we gotta double back one more time, I'm sorry. So let's rewind back to, when I was just a young kid, anything prior to 10 years old. Now, I wouldn't say that I was a crybaby, but I used to cry myself to sleep, so much so that I had a wart in my eye, okay? Hopefully my focus is good on this camera. I know my hair looks like shit. I need to shave, but whatever. Today was a busy day. So when I was a kid, I used to cry myself to sleep. I also used to have very vivid dreams. I used to like scream in my sleep. I would cry in my sleep. Very traumatic, right? Also, I would never talk to anybody about my feelings. I was a mute when it came to how I felt and things like that. So much so that my mom, she got worried, rightfully so. And she ended up giving me a journal at 10 years old, okay? My very first journal. And she told me to, write my feelings down in the journal. She expressed the importance of getting that shit off my chest. She didn't want me to hold on to it. And since I refused to talk to her, then, she told me to write in my journal. And I started to write in my journal a little bit, but I mean, my journal writings really didn't take off until I got to California. Okay, I believe I was still writing in the same journal from 10 years old when I got to California at 12 years old. That's how little I wrote. It didn't really click right away. I was still just listening to a lot of music. I listened to Tupac, I listened to Michael Jackson, I listened to Andre Bocelli, okay, shit like that. Played a lot of video games. Okay, so let's bring it back. Writing did eventually become a big part of my life. As you may know, I can write music. I write poems. I looked up to Tupac. Tupac writes poems. I was trying to be like him. When I actually started having a life, when I started having friends and things like that, I used to write about my friends. I used to write about my experiences. Eventually, my journal became my friend. I used to write to my journal as if it was a real person. And to be honest with you, my journal was the only entity or the only thing, the only person that knew the real me. When I got to California, I used to lie a lot about who I was, because I wanted to be somebody I wasn't. I wasn't comfortable with myself, I guess, but I lied about my age, which is something I probably could have said in the last video, but I wanted to connect it to the journal. I lied about my age. I lied about where I was from. Like I told everybody I was from Chicago, which I am, but at that time, I didn't know anything about Chicago other than my grandparents living there. I was from Racine, Wisconsin, That's where I had lived the majority of my life up until that point. But my journal knew the truth, you know what I mean? My journal knew everything. My journal was my best friend before my baby mama. You understand where I'm going with this? Okay, cool. What else do I want to touch on? I can't tell you why I was so sad as a kid, right? That may be a question. And I don't really know. I've always had these vivid feelings and emotions that nobody could help me understand. I had this vision of me being a little kid and being left in a hallway, laying on the floor, curled up. And I asked my mom about this image and she doesn't remember anything like that. But this image fucks with me psychologically. Like, I used to have recurring dreams about this shit. You know what I mean? Fucks with me. Also, too, like, I used to always ask my mom if I was adopted all the time. And she would always just laugh it off and just say, no, I'm your real mom, duh. Go look at your baby pictures. I'm your real mom. Okay, cool. Come to find out, though, my dad wasn't my real dad. And so maybe that's what I was feeling. But I always had this deep ability to feel things that I didn't understand, right? And I still do, except today I try a lot. I try very hard to make sense of what I'm feeling. I'm trying to think what else I can say about my past that actually relates to my baby mama and the story that I'm trying to tell. Because I am trying to tell my life story, but the reality of the situation is my life, for the majority of it, was wrapped around this woman, right? Like I said, my happiness is tied to this woman, and my idea of self is tied to this woman. So my life story is my story with her. There are pieces that are kind of irrelevant that I don't want to really talk on. There's pieces that are more relevant to like me and my mom, or me and me, or me and my stepdad, And I could tell those pieces, and I guess I should, but I just don't know how to connect them all. So I'm hesitant. This is why it's so hard for me to write a book or to even make these videos, because I don't know what the fuck I should say or what I need to say in order to tell this story. I'm not one to just put my business out in the air like this. Like, this is like one of the hardest things I've ever fucking done. Not ever, but this is top five. This shit's hard. Since I've already started about talking about my past, since I already started talking about my past, let's go ahead and give you my past in a nutshell. Let me give you as much as I can give you about my past, so that way tomorrow I can just move on and talk about the future, talk about, the beginnings with me and my baby mama, right? I've already mentioned I cried a lot. I was very intuitive. But on top of that, let me tell you this. I was so intuitive that I was able to tell my mom when she was pregnant before she even knew. I was able to tell my mom that she was going to give birth when she went out to the store, and she didn't know. She didn't believe me, but she never came back. I mean, she came back, but she came back with a baby. I'm very intuitive, okay? I'm very empathetic to the point where I can still picture my mom crying in the kitchen, kneeling on the floor. And I'm just like, what's wrong, mama? You okay? Although that's the words that I use. I'm sorry, my speech is fucked up today. Although those are the words that I used, what my heart was saying, Mom, tell me what's wrong so I can solve it. Let me help you fix this problem. I will do anything it takes to help you keep from crying, I felt for my mom dearly. I watched my mom go through some crazy stuff that I didn't necessarily understand. There's an image in my head of me being in a car, my stepdad driving. They was arguing. I can't even really remember the argument per se. What I remember is my mom getting out of the car while we're on the road. I'm pretty sure the car got stopped. But she gets out the car and she just starts walking. And I remember my stepdad just pulling off and my mom just fucking walking. There was a lot of situations where I would be like, yeah, Mom, like, what the fuck is wrong? Like, why are you so sad? What's going on for real? Like, my mom was very, very depressed all my life. Like, I hardly ever seen her unless it was time for dinner. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, I might have saw her in the morning, but I don't remember. A lot of times we would wake ourselves up, we would feed ourselves breakfast, or should I say, I would feed myself and my siblings. I would homeschool myself. My mom would buy these homeschooling books, but all you got to do is read the instructions and you can do the work. Well, that's what I did. I would enjoy teaching my brother and teaching my sister as well. And I think the only reason why my mom got up for dinner is because my stepdad would come home and my stepdad wanted fucking dinner ready when he got home. I do remember him being very big on that. I can also say that I prided myself in taking responsibility, right? When my sister was born, I wanted to take care of her. I wanted to change her diapers. I wanted to, treat her as if she was my child. And I did that as much as I could. I remember one time my parents went out on like a date and they had babysitters, but the babysitters, I say sitters because it was like a family. I forgot their name, but there was like the Oettingers or some shit like that. There was a family or a couple and they had two daughters, and we were friends with them. And they came over to watch us, me, my brother, and my sister. But my sister only wanted me. Yet my sister was crying vividly the whole time. And I remember just, being calm and patient with her, just holding my sister the whole time while my parents were out enjoying themselves, having their date. Sometimes I do bring it up to my mom, but not because I didn't like the situation. It's just because, like, I want my mom to give me trophies. Like, do you understand the sacrifices that I made for you, Mom? Like, do you understand that I was willing to do anything and everything for you, Mom? That I was your biggest support, not anybody else, but me. You know what I mean? Even when we came to California, it was the same way. My mom was at the club every fucking weekend. Wednesdays too, sometimes. And who was watching the kids? Me. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't really hate my mom for it. I get mad at the fact that she's not willing to give me my fucking trophies. Like, give me the respect that I fucking deserve. But that's that. Okay. Crybaby, empathetic. And I also want to touch on the fact that I've always been able to attract a lot of women. Okay. Ever since I was young. So my mom tells me this story about when I was in kindergarten or preschool, probably kindergarten. And these two girls were fighting over sitting next to me. They just wanted to sit next to me. They was just arguing over the shit to the point where the teacher had to get involved and separate us. I've always been like that. The couple that I talked about that came over to watch us while my parents went out on a date. Well, those two little girls, the oldest girl was very attracted to me. And we used to go upstairs in the tent and we used to kiss and touch on each other and all that shit. I'm talking like 10, 8 years old. I used to play spin the bottle with the girls across the street. I think I said that in the last video. Even older women have always been drawn to me. I've always heard that, ooh, when that boy get older, he gonna be something, right? I've always had these elements, okay? Also, I've always been homeschooled, right? I mean, I went to kindergarten, but I don't think I finished. I went to second grade, and I know for sure I didn't finish because my mom pulled me out. Right? What happened was I just didn't want to be around nobody. I think somebody was fucking with me. I don't know. But I asked to get my desk moved to a separate location, over in the corner somewhere. I just wanted to be by myself. I think that was the beginning of me recognizing that I'm not feeling my own feelings. And I kind of want to just separate from other people's feelings so that way I can just be me, right? But of course I couldn't explain that in the second grade at 7 years old. So I just didn't want to be bothered. It looked kind of antisocial. My mother found out about this, and she assumed, regardless to what I told her, she just assumed that the teacher separated me, and she was furious. And so I remember her going up to the classroom and getting angry with the teacher, and the teacher trying to explain to her, no, he asked to do this. I'm just respecting his wishes, and she didn't care. And so I got moved back into general population. Things like that. Also, I was a very suicidal kid. Let me touch on that because I don't have much time left. I was a very suicidal kid. My mom got kicked out of one of her apartments because I hung myself from a tree. And the neighbors saw me and told my mom. I was very suicidal. I did try to cut myself when I was young, but I didn't really like pain. Even when I hung myself, I wasn't really trying to die. I kind of wanted to see how I felt. And I was trying to see if I can survive it, right? I remember like hanging myself and then tensing up my neck and holding myself up by the neck. Just I don't know, I'm a crazy little boy. But I was very suicidal. I did want to die very young. And I thought dying was cool. If you listen to enough Tupac, I think everybody will feel the same way. Not to blame anything on Tupac, but people like that, they have a way of making death feel magical, right? Especially when you're in a hopeless situation that you just, that you just don't understand. I spent a lot of time alone. I spent a lot of time reading books. I read a lot of books when I was a kid. I was a big reader, and I stayed a big reader up until I turned 26, 27, and I started working very consistently, and I started to be a part of this world, and that's when I kind of stopped reading books. I did go to 8th grade. I never finished school. I was always homeschooled. I used to play these games on the computer. I used to play Spy Fox, Pajama Sam. I was very resourceful, I'll tell you that. The computer that my mom had, Like I don't know how I did it, but I got on that motherfucker and I found out we was going to California like months before we was going to California because I was able to get into like her emails and shit that she was talking to my auntie about it and I remember asking my mom about it and she was shocked that I even knew because I knew how to snoop very early on. Like I was a big snooper. I remember I found my stepdad's porn collection. He had a big ass Tupperware full of fucking pornos. And when my parents, they had a paper route. So they used to go out and work every night. And most of the time I'd be up because I didn't like going to sleep because I had bad dreams all the time. Like I never had a good dream until I started smoking weed. Like that's how bad my dreams were. And it was always dreams of me fighting. I think that's why I hate fighting today, although I still fight a lot and I'm starting to become accustomed to it. But I really hate fighting because I've had so many vivid dreams of me fighting and it just hurts so bad. I don't want to fucking fight. I don't want to hurt nobody, and I don't want to be hurt. But anyway, yeah, I used to fucking watch the pornos and I used to walk around with a hard dick and play with my dick and play with the condoms and all that. I was very nosy, very resourceful. I was on LimeWire like very early on, getting porn, getting movies, getting music. Like I was a LimeWire kid, for sure. I miss LimeWire, for sure. Shit, and I've always been a wanderer, even before I came to California. My mom used to tell me, you can't leave the cul-de-sac. Fuck out of here. I'm gone, bro. Like, the only thing I wouldn't do was cross the main street because in Racine, at least where we stayed, there wasn't no lights or nothing on that street. To be honest, it felt like a little freeway, kind of like Springfield. Like where my grandmother stays in Springfield, you go inside the neighborhood, and inside the neighborhood, there's little streets and stop signs and stuff. But when you leave that neighborhood, there's nothing but grass fields immediately outside that neighborhood. And that's kind of how Racine was. And so I wasn't bold enough to cross that main street where the cars are probably going like 50 miles per hour. But I was all up and through that neighborhood. I didn't give a fuck. I stretched the limits over where I could go. What else? I ran away very early, okay? Like, of course I didn't get anywhere. But in my mind, I was ready to fucking run away and ready to take care of myself at 7 years old. I remember getting mad at my mom. I remember packing my shit up. And I left the house, and she let me leave the house. I thought I was gone. Nigga, I make it far down the street. And then turns out my baby mama, my stepdad is coming back home from work. And he see me, and he picked me up. And I was mad because I was ready to go. I was fed up. I've been fed up. I was just tired. I don't even know what the fuck I was tired of, but I've been tired of her shit. And I've been a runaway ever since. I kind of forget about my runaway days. But yeah, I used to run away a lot. I used to run away and just like either sleep outside or just be walking around all night. So yeah, I did have a job very young. I used to work with my stepdad. But then once I met this lady on my stepdad's paper route. And she took a liking to me. And she was older and she needed help with her paper route. My stepdad used to do like distribution papers, right? So he would deliver paper bundles to other delivery drivers. So at 10 years old, I remember getting my own paper route. Like I used to go with that lady, help her with her paper route, and then get picked up by my stepdad. And she used to pay me, I think like $50 a week, $20 a week. It was enough to get some marshmallows and some shoes. I played basketball a lot. I had a friend named, I can't remember his name. That was my nigga and I can't remember his name, but me and him, we used to go to the YMCA a lot and play basketball. I don't know. I was just a regular kid, but I wasn't a regular kid. Like my past life was kind of unique in a sense. It was a mixture of shit I wasn't supposed to be doing and shit that average kids do, and it was just a lot of different shit, you know what I mean? I wish I can remember that boy's name because that guy I used to play basketball with, he had a big brother who used to play overseas in China with Tracy McGrady. And that was the coolest shit ever. I wish I could remember that nigga's name. He was real cool. I don't know, man. That's my past in a nutshell. That's pre-California in a nutshell, I used to go to fucking Chicago every weekend to go see my grandparents. Or every other weekend and shit, we used to drive down there. And, yeah, easy peasy life, What can I say? Who would have thought that 2 years from there, who would have thought at 10 years old, 2 years later, I would be getting my dick sucked by a grown ass woman on the block, like it's hot, slap boxing, you feel me, stealing from the stores, all types of shit. I actually started stealing back in Racine. Damn, I'm running out of time. But yeah, I was a big thief. Like I used to steal from my stepdad. I used to steal from my mom money from both of them. I used to steal donuts and marshmallows. I love sweets. I was a thief. Yeah, I've always been a thief. Because I'm small and sneaky. But anyway, bro, that's my past in a nutshell. Maybe I'll say some more tomorrow. I don't know, but I'm ready to move forward in this story. So, I love you, I love you, I love you, my nigga. You are my nigga, and I care about you more than anybody else. Now, keep your head up, never get fed up, stack your motherfucking bread up, and something. Popcorn play, I'll holler at you later, okay? Good looking. Thanks for being there for me, my nigga. What can I do without you?